Sometimes men and women could get confused about a woman's changing libido and why she lost interest in having sex with him. So I want to explain to you a few things about women's libido, and I made this very simple chart. Here we have a woman's baseline libido, okay? I'll keep putting this up as I go through it. The baseline libido is what her libido was before she met you. And you can find out, ladies, your baseline libido by how often you masturbate when you're not in a relationship or attracted to a particular guy. That is your own libido that's independent of anything going on around you. It doesn't matter if there's a sexy guy or a good song or whatever. It's your libido, and it can vary, of course, based on your stress level and how good you feel in your body and different factors like that. And it can also go up when you're ovulating. And so these are intrinsic to you. These are internal to you that have nothing to do with your relationships. They can be impacted, of course, by what you were taught about sex growing up, if you were ever violated in some way, your internal dialogue about sex. But this makes up your baseline libido. And for some women, it's really high, and for some women, it's really low, especially if they had some kind of sexual trauma, either physical or where they were told sex is bad and shameful. And so it can be, really distorted based on those kind of factors, but that's the baseline. Now I'm going to talk about what happens when these external factors kick in, like a relationship. And for this is where I want to say that women are very different from men, and that I think a man's libido is mostly impacted by his internal factors of his testosterone, and the only external factor would be seeing a visual of a naked woman or a naked body part, whether in real life or in porn. He's ready to go. I am exaggerating because we can't reduce men to being so simple, but it basically is true in general. But for women, the sex that they want with their partner, with a man, has a lot to do with how she feels about that man. And how she feels about that man is going to be really heightened when she first meets him. That's what I call new relationship energy. I actually have to update my chart with that. Okay, so I added it. NRE stands for new relationship energy. So this woman has a baseline libido. It goes up when she ovulates, and it's gonna go up a lot when she first meets her guy that she's really attracted to. During this new relationship energy phase, they could be having sex 5-6 times a day. They could be staying in bed for the whole weekend. Okay, have you been in relationships like that where you can't stop touching each other? Your desire is so intense. Your woman's constantly like horny, constantly wet, constantly desiring him. And that's really fun, but you can't live life in that zone forever. But it's really good for bonding, and it's nice. But then that's going to wear off, and then you're going to get into more of a plateau phase in your libido, and it's going to go way back down. And for a woman, the longer she's in a relationship with that guy, the more her libido is going to naturally drop, unless she tries to do something about it, which I'll get into. Her libido will kind of taper off, and it'll taper off a lot after she has a baby. And again, this all has a purpose, because this new relationship energy, she's bonding to her man, but when she has a baby, she needs to be bonded to that infant that's helpless and utterly dependent on her, and that has to be her priority. And that needs to be her priority as she gives the infant milk from her body. She needs more sleep, she needs more rest, she can be more fatigued, she might not feel so sexy. She's tired, maybe gained a little weight, and she's got this needy infant constantly hanging on her. I remember when my kids were little, and my first two were really close in age, and they were on me all day, and I had to hold them and touch them. And when I finally put them to bed, I just didn't want to be touched at all. They call it being touched out. Like, I just want my body left to myself. Okay? It's kind of like the person who works with people all day or on the phone, and they get home, they don't want to talk on the phone. That's a very temporary phase, but a woman's libido will decline the longer she's in a relationship. And I heard this said by the man who wrote The Dead Bedroom Fix. He has a YouTube channel, which I will link in the description below. It was called Dad Starting Over, but now he uses this name. It's Ralph something. And he's married, and he leads a group for men, and he helps men how to have a good sex life in your marriage. Don't put up with no sex, which is what he did before in like a people-pleasing way. So let's get back to this video. So the woman's libido is gonna drop off. So here's the baseline libido. It goes up when she ovulates. It goes up a lot when she meets her guy because of how she feels about him. And for a woman, our emotions, I'm going to say for a healthy woman, our emotions and how we feel about a guy and wanting to be close to him drive our libido. It's not just seeing a penis, because a man can get hard just seeing a woman's genitalia. We're not going to want to have sex with you just because you showed us your penis. It's how we feel about you, okay? So and then it grows gradually down over time, the longer she's with him, the babies and all that. And it can temporarily even dip down below, especially after having a baby. It can go below the baseline. If a woman had a very difficult childbirth, or her perineum tore and now sex is really painful, or she has a lot of pain down there. I've even heard of women who've had C-sections I've heard of 2 women who had C-sections where the anesthesia didn't kick in and they felt the whole thing. Like, there's a lot of trauma that would make you like not wanna, but those are exceptions. And then it can really drop off after menopause to below baseline, to where she wants no sex at all, unless she takes some hormone creams to help with that very dried out tissue. Everything's going to feel painful. Now, a man's libido is very different. Let me make a chart of the man's libido. Give my stab at it, guys. You're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so you don't really have one when you're little, and when you're 16, your hormones rage, maybe even before. It goes way up, and it stays up and gradually tapers down over time, but it stays up. It doesn't have anything to do with ovulation or meeting a new woman or babies or relationships or aging. It's just there. You're so lucky. It's just there. So if it's just there for you and you've been married 5 years, why has it gone down for her? Was she leading you on? Did the gods deceive you? Does life just suck? This is so freaking unfair. Well, this is where men who understand women are still getting a lot of sex. I have talked to women who still love sex. There's someone I know, she's been married 20 some years. They have 3 children together, and she was telling me the other day that he booked this really nice getaway for their 22nd wedding anniversary, and he booked this really nice room for them at this hotel in Carlsbad, and some things they were going to do, and they had a photo shoot planned, and she tells me that he's so great in bed. Now, they have other problems in their relationship, like financial, but he's great in bed and she loves sex with him. And I think that when the man's really good in bed and attentive to the woman, she's going to keep wanting to have sex with him. I am convinced of this. I do believe that the women who value the sex life with their husband, if he's good in bed, she will definitely bring that back up. It won't be 5 times a day, but it can easily be several times a week or every 2 or 3 days because she enjoys the sex with him. So that's where it's up to the man. If the woman isn't having sex anymore and her health is good, it's probably because he's inattentive in bed or inattentive outside the bedroom. Because unlike a man who's going to want sex just because he saw a naked breast come out of the shower, she's going to want to have sex because of how he treats her, how she feels about him, and how he treats her in bed. And a man who is a two-pump chump or who only touches her when he's trying to get his rocks off and neglects her at all other times, he's going to get nothing, and then he thinks of himself as a little victim. This is what I've seen when men complain they're not getting sex. I can tell you it's because they're bad in bed. They're very gropey, they kiss very roughly, they touch the pussy too roughly. And these poor women, especially women my age in their 50s and 60s, all they know is they hate sex. If they've never had good sex, they don't know to say, slow down, touch me this way, I like it this way, I need a little warm up. All they know is this guy keeps coming at me and he's touching me in a way that is painful and irritating and annoying and needy, and I want nothing to do with it, and the pussy door is shut. And in the beginning, because of how she felt about him, she was turned on enough to overlook the really bad sex. But over time, when her libido went down and she realized how bad it was, she just stopped wanting it. So that's what I've seen. So I really think that even when the woman's libido goes down, she can still bring it up because she knows that when she sees him, it goes up. When he takes her out to dinner, it goes up. The way she knows that the sex is going to be great. So when he starts giving her a massage, it goes up, or maybe she'll keep it. Maybe it won't go down. Maybe her baseline is actually, I have a little bit of candle wick wax on my fingernail. I was digging around in the candle, so don't pay attention to that. But my diagram isn't quite accurate because her baseline could be already pretty high. Like if you have a woman who masturbates 2 or 3 times a week, her baseline's going to be pretty good. Her baseline could be sex with you twice a week. That's what it could be. But a woman who doesn't even masturbate, her baseline could be really low because she's not that much in touch with her sexuality. So I think if a woman likes sex and you're good in bed, I think that their sex life will be active for a long time. I remember there was a woman I met at a meetup group recently, and she's in her 70s, late 70s, and she was married like over 50 years, and she told me she loves sex with her husband. He is so good in bed. But then I've met another woman who said, I hate sex. And I said, well, does he ever kiss you? And she said, no, he never kisses me. Do you think he kisses me? No. So I don't blame her. She is thinking that sex is bad when it's he who is bad. And I could make so many videos about what makes a man good in bed, but that's why I make these videos about feelings. If you're in touch with your feelings, guys, you're going to notice what the woman likes and doesn't like. And if you're with a woman who's comfortable speaking up, she's going to tell you what she likes and doesn't like. And you have to pay attention to how her body responds. I think the biggest mistakes that men make sexually is they're so impatient. They just got to get in there. A frantic man is not arousing. A frantic man needs to calm the F down and get a grip on himself and regulate himself before he comes to the woman. You can be excited, you can be passionate, you can grab her and touch her. But when you're so anxious to just grab that pussy and just press your lips against her, you just need to take a chill pill. Do some breath work, take a cold shower. I do not know, meditate, go for a run. Okay, so that's the first mistake. They're so anxious to just get in there. The other mistake that men make in long-term relationships is they get a woman that they're horny and they just got to grab that woman's titty. She might be washing the dishes and you come up behind her and you just grab her titties, because why not? You like your dick grabbed, right? She's not going to like that very much. It doesn't feel good. It feels like, whoa, I'm being like assaulted right now. Okay? I think the best way to explain it without giving all these examples is to think of a man more like, when we look at the animal kingdom, I think of a woman more like a cat. You have to approach slowly. Even though you're married, you cannot just start petting the cat. You know what happens when you just run up to a cat. It's going to run under the sofa and hide. Doesn't like that. You got to approach calmly. And once you do that, you can play with the cat and pet the cat, but you want to be calm and approach slowly. But compare this to like you have like a dog. A dog loves the energy. You come home, it runs up to you, it wants a rough house, it's happy to see you, it's wagging its tail to any stranger. That's how men are sexually. So when you think about touching your woman sexually, think of her as a cat. And think of her as a flower that has to open. And if you force it open, it's going to break. A flower opens to the warmth of the sun. The woman has to open to you. Okay, she has to open. If you want to enter her body, she has to open. I'm going to explain it to you. And she's going to open to you and want to fuck you because of how she feels about you, not because you're coming at her and you're all like, oh, I gotta get in there. Can you just bend over? Let's get to it. I'm ready to get to it. Like, no. If you want to get right to it, I really think you should have sex with a man, because I think that other men are more able to get right to it. Although the older men get, the more they're able to just savor just being turned on, the warm up, the whole play of it. The conversation, the getting, the flirting, they're able to appreciate all that all of a sudden more, because they're not so needy to just spread their seed, and their testosterone has lowered enough to where they can enjoy things more. But if they never learned these things, they're still going to do what I'm telling you. I guess I should give you more examples. It's really important that you give your woman attention other than when you want something from her. Okay? Don't just go to people when you want something, like you want sex or you want a dinner or you whatever. Give the woman attention when you're not trying to stick your dick in her. That's number one. Number two, try different things and see what turns her on. In general, you can always start with the massage, but you want to start slowly and build things up. And a lot of guys have no idea about the clitoris. They think that this is the hugest mistake men make when it comes to touching the woman's vulva. They don't know what a vulva is. They don't know what a clitoris is. They think that the glands is the clitoris, and they make a beeline for it, which is very painful in the same way that uncut men find it painful to have their foreskin pulled back and their head touched directly. It's too sensitive. And so, no. And they make a huge mistake by overlooking the rest of the clitoris. And what I find extremely distasteful is men who don't even play around with the outer lips. Underneath the outer lips is where the clitoris resides. They don't stimulate that part because they're so anxious to get in there. And all that, I want to call it anxiety, not as being afraid, but anxiety as in they can't control themselves. They're too anxious to get something or make something happen. They can't let things gel and unfold. it's really a turnoff. I got to the point where I didn't even want men touching my pussy at all because 99% of them would be so bad at it. They'd be too quick and too rough because a clitoris is not like a penis. It's not. So so a woman who enjoys sex will want to have more of it. I also think a big difference between men and women is that in general, men want an orgasm. Me as a woman have sometimes I want it. If I get turned on enough, I want it. And if I'm in a relationship, I want to be with a man that cares about my pleasure. But there have been so many times the best sex I ever had in my life, I didn't even have an orgasm. Men don't understand this, and that means you don't understand women. Now, ladies, tell me if you're the same as I am, but some of the best sex that I ever had, I know I didn't have an orgasm, or I don't remember if I had an orgasm because the orgasm isn't what makes the sex great for me. But for a man, it does. He does want that release as part of his sex with the woman. I think that's where we're very different. What do I care about? How turned on are you going to get me? What's going to happen next? What am I going to experience? What am I going to feel? That's what I want. I love that feeling of like a man of my choosing, that I surrender to. I love that feeling of surrendering to a man that I admire. I love that feeling of surrendering to a man that I respect, that I look up to, that I enjoy looking at. Surrendering to him. It's so exciting to me. It doesn't have to do with orgasms, but I also personally like it when a man has like control of his energy, good cock control, if he's calm yet passionate, if he's sexually uninhibited and can just say things, whatever he's thinking, and even say naughty things. But what I don't like are men whose dicks don't work. Sorry if your dick doesn't work. I still like to fuck. I don't like it when their dicks don't work. That's a turn off. If they have no dick control at all, I don't care about the size, but I want it to be hard. I want it to work. I want it to work in a condom. I like it when a man can come in a condom. And I like when he's sensual with me and passionate with me and not rushing, when he's calm and sensual and affectionate and dominant, so I can surrender, but also that he can be playful and let me take the lead sometimes. I just went into a little too much detail there. I don't know why I did that. I probably shouldn't have done that, but it was just to kind of give you an idea. I think I'm more like the typical woman in that way, and I don't mind leading or initiating. I don't mind that at all. One more thing I want to say, there are relationships where the woman has a higher libido than the man, but I think there are also a lot of relationships where the man is a two-pump chump, where he just uses the woman as an ejaculation device. And there are men who use a woman as an ejaculation device. And that woman's not really going to want to have sex. Now, let's talk about menopause. In menopause, a woman will naturally lose her libido because the loss of estrogen causes more drying of the skin, and also the aging causes more drying of the skin. And a lot of people don't realize, and this also has to do with the pussy playing the oral on a woman and touching the vulva area, that inner pink tissue is very delicate. It's very thin. It's not, the skin, they tell us, don't rub your face, you can make wrinkles. This is really rough. I use a loofah sometimes on my skin. This is thick skin. Okay, I don't know any other area on the body where the skin is so delicate as on the pink tissue inside the vulva. It's delicate, it's very thin, And if you rub it when it's dry, it hurts. You can rub this dry, but you cannot rub the inside when it's dry. But a woman will get wet when she's aroused, but after menopause, that pink tissue gets even thinner and drier, and the vaginal lining can get thinner. And when it's dry, it hurts. I'm not even going to kid you. When I went into menopause, just touching myself there was painful. I didn't even want to touch myself down there. It was so painful. And so I understand when women after menopause say they don't want to have any more sex, because you don't even want to touch yourself down there, let alone have someone else touch you, because it hurts. So the solution that I found for myself was to use estrogen cream, which is applied twice a week, internally in the vagina, like the outer inch of the vagina. And you can put also a little bit in the front part of the vulva area. And after a few months of that, that helped a lot. I also try to put on like some oil or some lotion, something that feels really soothing. Especially as I'm older, my skin is getting drier because it hurts to touch that very dry skin. It would be like a guy getting a prostate massage with no lube. That would hurt, right, guys? Yes. So, but women who never had a sex drive to begin with, they don't care when it hurts, when it's dry. They're like, I never liked sex anyway, and I don't like it now. Or they're like, it just hurts and I don't care. But a woman who cares about her libido, and I care about mine, is going to start saying, why did I lose my libido? And for me, the 2 times in my life I lost my libido was, one, when I was having sex that I didn't like. I didn't like how I was being touched. Okay, I didn't like how he was having sex with me, and I lost my libido, and I didn't put the two together until much later. And number 2 was after menopause. So these are things that women can fix. And I think that a healthy libido is a sign of health. It's a sign of good health that we have a libido. It doesn't mean we go around having sex with people, but it's like, I'm a sexual being. My genitals function, they're healthy, and in the right situation, I would use them, and I'm connected to my sexuality. So that's important to me. And I think to women to whom it is important, and women who value their relationships, they're going to find out, if they lost their libido, how to get it back, to stay connected to their partner and also to their own health and their own sexuality. That's my opinion. So I think with like, okay, and most of the things we have to teach men is we have to teach them to slow way the hell down. Whatever they're doing, have them do it. You know how on YouTube you can play things at like half a speed? Save that. Play it at half a speed again. Your whatever movies. Have your guy go at half a speed and half a speed again. The way he's licking you, the way he's touching you, have him just slow it all the way down and enjoy this moment and see if you start liking it then. That's a huge thing that men have to learn to do. And then also, to be like, okay, it doesn't feel good. Why doesn't it feel good? And to look into some kind of like hormone things or estrogen creams after menopause, because that's just good for tissue health too. So that's the only medication I take. I don't take anything else, but I don't like to take medication, and I avoided it for a long time. But I went to see a pelvic floor therapist some time ago, and she recommended I take it, and it made a huge difference for me, because when I do have intercourse, I do get a lot wetter. Everything feels better, and it no longer hurts when I touch myself. So that I think that it has made the tissue like thicker and all of that. So I think that's helpful. Thank goodness for, modern medicine. So I'm curious what you all think about sex in long-term relationships, female desire in long-term relationships. And for those women who don't like sex, if you figured out why, and I think it's always because the guys are bad in bed. 90% of men are bad in bed. That's my experience. 90% of men are just bad in bed. The only time they're good in bed And even the guys that are good in bed, they're not going to be good in bed every time. It's only if they feel like putting the effort in, because to a guy, it's effort. It's easy for a guy to just like be a two-pump chump to get off and roll over. But to put the effort in, it takes effort. The same as it takes effort for me to clean the house, make a dinner, water my plants, whatever I do, it's effort. And pleasing someone sexually, giving a guy a blowjob is also effort. Don't think that we don't put any effort in. That's effort. It's easy to just lay there or just use someone to get off. But the men that are really good in bed, I know they put in the effort, because it is effort. I value a man who's good in bed. Whenever I had a man who was good in bed, I would thank him, because it's so rare. And I know the effort it requires and the talent it requires. The cock control, the patience, the attention to me, the energy required. And not all guys can do that, but even the ones who can, they don't do it every time. Because I have had sex with men that was out of this world, and then the next time they were just lame as F, lame, to where I never wanted to see them again. I'm like, okay, so I'm glad I saw the real you now. I'm glad I saw the real you, because that's what you gave me the second time, when you no longer care about impressing me. That's how you really are, So, that's what I have to say about it. I think that for men, what makes sex bad is a woman who just lays there, but they'll put up with that over nothing. But I think as a woman, we would rather have no sex than bad sex. And I definitely count myself in that category. And the same as most women, my desire for sex is ignited by how I feel about that particular man. Whereas a man just has to see a naked breast. And that's how we're different. And I love making these videos about our differences, because it seemed like so long it was politically incorrect to talk about our differences. But we are different. And talking about it can only help us, right? So I will be back for the comments. Very interested to hear your comments on this video. And thank you so much for watching.